Alrighty people, so you want to learn to play League, but don't know where to start. Well, have no fear, because today I will show you exactly what you need to know to get started and not be long in the Iron Division at all.
This game is not a game most people can just start and continue playing and actually enjoy. It takes time and patience to actually get the fundamentals down to actually start winning and enjoying the game. To begin, you are first going to want to make a profile, duh. Then download the game. I recommend you turn off the music in the loading screen because it is loud AF.
That was my girlfriend having a bit of fun recording for you all. Hope you all enjoyed her lovely voice. Now on to the real deal. You are going to want to complete the tutorial that it makes you complete. This tutorial isn't everything you need to know, as it doesn't even mention the jungle role, runes, or even warding, but it is still kinda useful. There are 3 stages to this tutorial. After the first stage, it lets you pick the first champion to start off with. Do not pick Ahri, unless you are wanting a challenge. Ahri is relatively mechanically challenging champion to learn, and I cannot recommend her to start off the game with, as you will more than likely get upset that you aren't doing good in the beginning, but in actuality, it isn't necessarily your fault, because you are brand new to the game, and she is pretty challenging. Now, I'm not going to go over the tutorial much, as that is honestly just boring, and it doesn't really teach you a lot about the game as a whole. Just the extreme basics. But on the first stage, play around with whatever champ you like, as it lets you pick between the 5 that you can swap out with. As you can see, I did. I chose for my starting champion to be Darius, as I believe he is a great starting champ to learn because he has only 1 skill shot and isn't super hard to land. But he also does require just slight mechanical skill for his Q. Basically a fairly simple champ to start the game out with. I recommend that once you get into the game, go to the shop immediately and purchase the champs you see me buy, and maybe even more if you would like. These champs will ensure that you have at least 1 champ for every role in the game should you get stuck in said role. Now onto the map and the roles that fill it. So right now you can see a map of Summoner's Rift. This is where you will spend most, if not all, of your time playing the game. There are 5 roles in this game mode. Well, really, there are positions filled by roles. The first up is top lane. Top is typically filled with bruisers/tanks and are primarily melee champ. A bruiser is a champ that deals moderate damage but is also pretty tanky at the same time. Someone like Darius, that's a bruiser. I recommend any new player to start on top lane. This is because it will teach you the basics of the game naturally, i.e. how to lane against someone, CSing, which is last hitting minions, dodging ganks, and roaming. Your first steps as a top laner is to win laning phase, just like any other lane. You are susceptible to ganks in 2 specific areas from top, one of which is very uncommon to see someone coming from though. Champs that I recommend you take top that are fairly good in the meta currently are Darius and Garen. Both of these champs are very tanky and cheap in the store to purchase. Well, if you started with Darius, you don't really have to worry about his cost.
They will regret opposing me.
My heart and sword, always for Demacia.
If you want to learn how to specifically play these champs, just look them up on my channel for basics of X champ videos. If the one you are looking for is not uploaded, fear not, as I am in the process of making all of those videos for the champs listed in this video. It shouldn't be too long before those are live. The second role I'll talk about is jungle. This role primarily revolves around helping other people out by doing what is called ganking. Ganking is when you go into another lane to help apply pressure and or get a kill on the enemy in that lane. You will primarily be fighting monsters as a jungler in the early game, going around killing camps to get XP and level up to become the true beast that you are inside. You almost always want to start jungling on the red side. This is where the red buff spawns. This is for that early damage, then move to blue. The only real exception to this is if your champ is very mana hungry. You don't do that then. You will hit level 2 before anyone else in the game after killing that first monster. It is important to ask for what's called a leash from your teammates though. That is where the team helps kill said monster. Make sure you get the final hit though. This makes it easier for you as the jungler to get better clears up before you have to back and heal up and purchase your items. It is important to apply as much pressure to your laners so that the enemy team doesn't get a lead. However, if your top laner keeps dying over and 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 your opponent has a 2-level advantage, do not gank him. He will end you both and laugh as he walks away. Just inform your top laner to stay under tower and play safe and not to feed. Apply pressure where it is needed before it gets to that stage. Help before you can't help anymore. If you see your mid laner is getting fed, get them even more fed. It is important to know your place, and if you can tell that you aren't going to be the fed one in the game, then help everyone else get fed. I cannot recommend you play this role whenever you are starting, as it can be difficult to understand and interpret who to gank and when to gank. I recommend you play Nunu or Warwick in the jungle if you do. They both have pretty good ganks and are not very mechanically challenging.
Every adventure is better with a friend.
The chains are broken. The beast is free.
Now, you can't actually play jungle until you are level 9, because that is when you unlock Smite. Now on to mid lane. Mid is typically where you see the ability-based champions. This is where you will see your mages and some assassins. This lane isn't the hardest to master, but it also isn't the easiest. I would recommend most people start mid to learn how to use ability-based champions more fluidly. The only reason I recommend top over mid is due to the fact that you have to watch 2 separate spots for ganks on mid, but it is only from one area on top, thus making it easier to learn the laning phase. I can recommend whenever you go mid to start off with, go Annie. She's a strong mage that also has a giant bear. Pretty neat and scary stuff, actually.
You want to play too? It'll be fun.
Now onto the bot lane. This lane is a bit interesting. This lane typically has 4 people in it at the same time. It usually has an ADC and a support for both teams. ADCs, or attack damage carries, aren't really in the best spot right now since all that crit chance changes on items and such, but they still need to have a spot on this list. This role needs to get a pretty good amount of kills to fill their role properly. Basically, they need to become the carry. Deal out the most damage, but also be the squishiest normally. Whenever you go ADC, you can't really help the squishiness, just try and dodge everything. Also, you typically need to rely on your support to help, which will tilt you even more. This is the main reason I cannot recommend starting on ADC. If you do go into this lane, I recommend you start with Ashe and Sivir. They aren't the best right now, but that's what you can afford, and if you master anything, it can be great.
All the world on one arrow.
I always take my toll. Blood or gold.
Support is a fun and interesting role. Your basic goal is to poke the enemy down, set up fights, and keep your ADC alive at all costs. Do not take any CS as a support. This is vital for your ADC to get their gold. Just get an item that rewards you for poking or gradually taking CS. The reason I do not recommend this role starting off is because it is still reliant off of your ADC. And when starting, I feel like you shouldn't put your fate in a game where you have to rely on someone else. For this role, I recommend you start with Soraka mainly. And when you want to spice things up and do more damage, go with Annie.
Let me guide you.
So whenever you get into your first match, just understand that you more than likely won't win. It's just a game and have fun. If you're going top, focus on CS. Poke whenever you can. Poking is dealing damage whenever you can without the intent on killing the enemy right then. You will be doing great if you get 80 CS at 10 minutes. Also, once unlocked, I recommend you almost always have Flash as a summoner spell. It is almost vital on every champ. At level 8, you will unlock masteries. These are important more so in the early game. I cannot give you a cut and dry version of what to run for everyone. What I can say is to look up online for your specific champion though. A good website to note is mobafire.com. The website basically shows a lot of good build paths, leveling paths, runes, how to play champs. Also, I'm not sponsored by them, so understand this is coming straight from the heart. All these things are very important once you hit higher ranks. Do not get into ranked matches until you are ready. People will take that stuff seriously, and if you suck, they will be very upset with you, and they will let you know. I have given you most of the information you need to start this game, I feel. Have fun and good luck on your journey to become the best League player ever, even better than Faker.